Hi, welcome back to My Story Time with Nana. It's time for the last chapter of the Appleton family. I hope you enjoy this story as much as I enjoyed writing it. I'm so excited. Let's begin. The Village Rooftop Party. Patrick and Alex were very excited about the rooftop party on Saturday. They wanted to go up to the rooftop, but they were so busy during the week that they never got a chance. But that was okay with Mommy. She wanted them to be surprised by how beautiful it was up there. On Monday, they had art class at the museum. Tuesday was dance lessons. Wednesday, they went to the library to hear Miss Glendower read. Thursday, they took a gardening class with Mr. Hart at the rec center, and then were back at the rec center on Friday and took a swimming class with Mr. Hart. How do you suppose Mr. Hart can teach swimming? Patrick asked his mother. He walks with a cane. Well, just because he walks with a cane doesn't mean he can't teach a swimming lesson, she told him. Let's see once we get there. Yeah, but yesterday, Alex said, when he was showing us the garden and taught us about what vegetables should be planted next to each other, he had a hard time getting around. Well, like I said, let's see when we get to the rec center. When they arrived for their classes, Lachlan, Ethan, and Emily were already there. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Alex, called out Emily. We're taking swimming lessons too. Patrick and Alex walked over to the other children and introduced themselves. They didn't know all of the children, but they saw that William and Claire and Madison were there as well. Mr. Hart blew his whistle, and all of the children turned. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this started. How many of you have had some swimming experience? And Lachlan and Ethan and Emily raised their hands, as did a couple other children in the group. Well, I can doggy paddle, said Patrick, and so can my brother. I can doggy paddle too, said William. Well, we're going to see if we can get everyone to learn how to float first, said Mr. Hart. He put his cane aside and dived into the pool. Soon you will be swimming like this. And he swam to one end of the pool, and then he swam back to the other end of the pool, and he was as fast as a fish. Wow, said Alex. I hope I learn how to swim that fast. Mr. Hart spent the next 2 hours teaching the children to float, and some even learned how to backstroke just a little bit. It was a lot of fun, and the boys were so excited that they could swim just a little bit now. Did you have a good lesson? Asked their mother when she picked them up. Oh, yes, Mommy, said Patrick. And you know what? Mr. Hart is a really fast swimmer. Can you believe it? Asked Alex. I mean, he walks with a cane, but he swims like a fish. Well, that is why you should never judge someone by their looks, their mother told them. Don't believe everything you see. Well, I see what you mean, said Patrick. On land, Mr. Hart needs help with his cane, but in the water, he doesn't need any help at all. Mommy, Patrick, and Alex walked home. They told their mother all about swimming and how they couldn't wait until next week for their next lesson. As they entered the building, the boys ran to the mailbox again, and there was nothing in the bin, and the boys seemed kind of disappointed. Now, boys, said their mother, we have gotten a lot out of that mail bin, and really, our days are full already. We know, Mommy, said Alex, but it was so much fun to get a surprise almost every day. I know, she answered, but now we belong to the village apartments. That's why we were invited to the rooftop party. Oh, yeah, that's right, said Patrick. We have a party to go to tomorrow. Mommy, Patrick, and Alex rode the elevator to their apartment, and the boys cleaned up while Mommy started dinner, and it wasn't before long that Daddy was home, and the family was enjoying a delicious dinner of creamed tuna with peas over toast. She even allowed the boys to have 2 pieces of candy from their Easter basket for dessert. After dinner, Daddy washed the dishes while Mommy read a Miss Glendower book to the boys and then sent them off to bed. Daddy stopped in their rooms to give them a kiss goodnight. "Hey, Dad," asked Alex, "are you excited about the party tomorrow?" "You bet I am," he answered. "We're finally going to see everyone from our apartment complex all in one spot. And I can't wait to thank them all." "Me too," said Alex. "We have some really nice neighbors." "Yes, we do," said Daddy as he closed the door shut. The next morning, the boys were very excited about the rooftop party for all of the residents of the village apartments. Mommy was making her famous potato salad with dill while the boys wrote thank you cards for Mr. Frank, Mr. Tony, Miss Honey, Silas and his parents, Mr. Albright, Miss Glendower, Miss Gigi, and Mr. Hart. They wanted to thank everyone that had welcomed them to their new home. They made cards out of construction paper and drew pictures of their favorite part of their mystery gift on the cards. Daddy spent time putting together dental bags with toothbrushes and toothpaste and floss for all of the residents in the building. He even put little 3-minute timers in the bags that were for the children. The Appletons wanted to make sure that everyone knew they appreciated the warm welcome to their new home. The time went by quickly, and soon they were taking the stairs up to the rooftop. They could hear music playing, and when they opened the door, the rooftop was all set for a party. There were planters all along the edge of the rooftop with all kinds of flowers, herbs, and vegetables. Mr. Hart must have set those up. And there were 4 large round tables set up in the middle of the roof with red checkered tablecloths. They all had flower arrangements, and each table was numbered for each floor. Mr. Tony must have been responsible for that because the tables looked just like those in his pizzeria. There were big balloon lanterns strung up all around the rooftop, and at the far end on the right of the rooftop was a long table with all kinds of food set out, and on the opposite end was what looked like a stage with big speakers. That's where the music was coming from. And when the Appletons stepped out onto the rooftop, all of the residents turned and they began clapping and clapping, and Mr. Frank walked over and welcomed the family to the party, the same way he welcomed them on their first day in their new home. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "please welcome our new family, the Appletons." And everyone stood up and started clapping all over again. Thank you very much," said Daddy. "You've made this transition for us so easy. You are so appreciated. Thank you very much." Okay, said Mr. Frank. "Let's enjoy our party before we have to get down to business." Mommy walked over and set her famous potato salad on the table, and all of the other women came over to meet her. And Mr. Appleton began setting his bags on each of the tables, and the boys placed their thank you cards on the tables as well. The family began to mingle with everyone, and the children, of course, all knew each other from the classes that they were taking. The adults were just getting to know Mr. and Mrs. Appleton. Soon everyone sat at the tables that marked the floor number that they lived at the village apartments. Table 2 had Miss Honey, Brianna, Corinne, and their parents. Table 3 had Silas and his parents, Mr. Tony and his wife and daughter Angela. Table 4 had Miss Glendower, Mr. Albright and his wife, and Mr. Frank. And Table 5 had the Appletons, Miss Gigi and Philip, and Mr. Hart. The families ate and enjoyed each other's company. "Hello," said Miss Honey. "Can I please have everyone's attention?" She was standing on the other end of the rooftop where the music was playing. "Our children have a dance that they would like to show you. Children," she called out. She waved her arms and they all come running to Miss Honey. They were all giggling and very excited. They couldn't wait to show their parents and all the other residents the dance that they had learned for tonight's party. Miss Honey started the music and all of the children began dancing and twirling and spinning and flipping. And Patrick and Alex finished the show by doing 2 cartwheels. Remember, they couldn't do that when they first went to Miss Honey. The adults were very impressed and they clapped enthusiastically. Daddy and Mr. Hart even whistled, and the children and Miss Honey took a bow. "Well done, children," she said. "Okay," Mr. Frank said. "We need to go over some business before we get to dessert and dancing." "Business?" said Daddy. "Oh, yes," said Mr. Hart. "This is the best part of our party. So, we have welcomed the Appletons to our family," said Mr. Frank. "And as you know, I've been at the village apartment the longest. And since I moved here, the village has a tradition. We all welcome our new families into our family here at the village. Well, we have our work cut out for us because next week we have 2 families moving in. And so we're going to have to work extra hard to make sure that they feel welcome." Miss Honey raised her hand and Mr. Frank acknowledged her. "Are there going to be children? Do they have children?" she asked. "Yes," answered Mr. Frank. "The first family will be here on Monday, the Owen family. They have 1 child. It's a boy. His name is Aiden, and he's about Silas's age, and he loves trains too. They're going to be moving on to the 3rd floor of the apartment complex, right next to the Vincents. So now Silas will have a boy his age on his floor. Won't that be fun?" "Yay!" cried out Silas. Said Mr. Vincent with a smile. "Looks like another subway ride, and I suppose we'll be going to the zoo, huh, Silas?" Silas just shook his head. Yes, he was very excited. "And then on Wednesday, we have the Alex family moving in," said Mr. Frank. "They have a little girl. She's about 3 years old, and her name is Mila. And they're going to be on the 2nd floor with you, Miss Honey. And from what I understand, she loves music." "Yay!" cried out Brianna and Corinne. "That's our floor." "Oh, how exciting," said Miss Honey. "I love teaching little girls, and it's best to start them out that early. Little Mila, oh, how I can't wait to meet you," she said. Well, Mr. Frank continued, Okay, so let's get down to business. Miss Honey, dance lessons, of course. And Miss Glendower, the library. Mr. Albright, the museum. Mr. Hart, the rec center. Mr. Vincent, the subway ride to the zoo, of course. And Tony, you will provide their first meal." And then Daddy raised his hand, and Mr. Frank acknowledged him. "I'd like to offer a trip to my dental office," he said. "Well, that sounds like a great idea," Mr. Frank told him. "Okay, so everybody get your mystery poems ready for our new residents. We want them to feel like family," he said. "Meeting adjourned." And he walked back to the table and sat down with Mr. and Mrs. Appleton. "Mr. Frank," said Mrs. Appleton, "I think that is the sweetest thing. No wonder we felt so welcome and so good about our move. Everyone here went out of their way to make us feel comfortable." "Well, it wasn't my idea," said Mr. Frank. "It's been going on long before I moved here, but I will tell you, it sure made me feel good when I first moved here, and so I was determined to keep up the tradition." "Attention, attention," said Miss Honey again. She was standing by her table. "I think we should all dance. Children!" And with that, the children all jumped up and ran to Miss Honey, and she led the way to the dance floor where they had done their dance routine, and they all began to dance. And it was a beautiful sight when all of the adults joined in as well. The Village Apartments really was a great place to live. And that is the end of the Appleton series. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I enjoyed writing them. I so look forward to seeing you next week. I have a new story. It's a family. They're going to visit their grandparents at a lake house. I think you're going to find it very exciting. I had a good time writing it. I'll see you then. Thank you so much. Don't forget to share my stories so other children can hear them. Have a great night.